Am I the a-hole for leaving my mom's house and going to my dad's after fighting with my half-siblings about us not having the same dad? I, 16 male, have a different dad than my half-siblings, 14 male, 12 female, and 11 female. My mom is married to their dad, and the two of them act like I'm theirs. And like my dad is just some random dude I see every other week. They tried to downplay the fact that he is my dad and has 50% custody of me. I've told my mom before that they should cut it out, but she said I technically have two dads, and that her husband is better. She also said I should be grateful he was willing to take me on and claim me as his. He told me I don't get to call another man dad in his house, which ticks me off and makes me want to do things that wouldn't be good. My half-siblings know I live somewhere else every other week, but they treat it like it's totally normal for someone to be with a non-parent half the time. They always tell me that their dad lives there and that I shouldn't call someone else dad. I found photos of my dad holding me when I was born and showed them, but they still acted like it was wrong. When I was younger, because of how bad things were, I asked my dad if he was really my dad. He reassured me that he had no doubts, but I was so frustrated by everything that we did a DNA test. It proved he is my biological dad. I never told my mom or anyone in her family because she would lose it on my dad if she found out. But I know 100% he is my dad, not my half-sibling's dad. And being married to my mom doesn't give her husband the right to push my dad out. It's getting harder to stay calm when this stuff comes up at my mom's house. A couple of weeks ago, there was an incident that caused a lot of trouble. I was at my mom's house and my half-siblings wanted to do something for their dad's 40th birthday. They wanted me to buy a gift from all four of us, but I said no. They said he is our dad and deserves it, but I said no. He is not my dad. They called me a turd and made a huge deal out of me denying he is my dad. I told them they can't undo the fact that my dad is my dad in every single way. I told them I don't even like their stupid dad and to get the heck away from me. The youngest went to her room, but the other two stayed and said I was such a jerk and so mean and I should be better. My half-brother called me retarded and said I need to stop treating their dad like he's some random guy. He said their dad deserves better and told me they'd steal money from me if they had to. My half-sister said they were too young to work or have their own money and he deserved something. I said he'd get nothing and too bad, so sad. They wouldn't drop it and even try to force their way into my room. At that point, I snapped and told them to get the heck away from me. I said I didn't care about their dad, called him a giant territorial a-hole who can't accept that his wife had a kid before him, and said I'd rather be an orphan than be their dad's kid. Then I left the house and went to my dad's. He was shocked but helped me calm down. I refused to go back to my mom's after that. She called the police and they asked me if I'd come home. I said not willingly. Now my mom has filed in court, wanting my dad to lose custody for not making me go back. I'm also getting so much grief for leaving and for fighting with my half-siblings. When my mom found out why, she told me I need to be grateful for my real dad, meaning her husband. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your mom sounds like a real piece of work. You're 16. The court will take your preferences into consideration. Hopefully you can live with your dad full-time and get away from your mom, her toxic husband, and her awful bratty kids. Not the a-hole. Your mom and her family have been practicing what is known as parental alienation, trying to make you see your dad as less important than your stepdad. That's absolutely wrong. And if you tell the court exactly what's been going on, you won't have to return. Be sure to mention how many times you've asked them to stop denying your parentage, and the fact that your stepfather won't even let you call your own father dad. And OP, start writing down everything you remember happening ever with this. Dates, or at least general ideas of when, what they said or did, who was there, all of that. Not the a-hole. Your mom must be delusional, or she must have been cheating with her husband the whole time she was with your dad. If you really care what she thinks and prefer to stay with your dad full-time, send her this posting and let the games begin. I don't care what she thinks, but I still don't think it's a good idea for her to know about the DNA test either, and I mention it in my post. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my stepmother she was never important to me and telling my younger brother what she said? My dad and stepmother got married when I, 17 male, was 9. My brother, 15 male, was almost 7. Our mom had died 2 years before that. It happened quickly, but we managed to adjust. My dad always had a bad relationship with our mom's side of the family, and when she died, he tried to cut them off from us. However, our grandparents were granted visitation rights before he met our stepmother. When my dad and stepmother got married, it was obvious she didn't like the visitation arrangement. My dad and grandparents used an app where they could request specific days, and my dad had to approve at least 3 a month. That's how it always worked. We were frequently asked when we returned home if our grandparents had mentioned our stepmother or said anything mean about her. We always told them the truth. Our grandparents didn't talk about her at all and rarely mentioned our dad. When we visited, we did fun things and sometimes something to remember our mom. What my dad and stepmother imagined those visits to be like was entirely different from reality. Mother's Day was always a contentious time. My grandparents got Mother's Day the 2nd year after Mom died, just before Dad's wedding. They continued to request it every year. My dad and stepmother didn't like it. But when Dad asked if we'd rather spend that day with them instead of our grandparents, I said I liked being with Mom's family. My brother felt the same, so Dad approved it every year. My stepmother hated it. The app used for visitation has its own calendar, and once a day is approved, my dad can't reverse it unless my brother and I are sick. A while ago, Dad approved a date without realizing it was my stepmother's birthday. She was angry. While I was at my grandparents' house, which my dad and stepmother didn't know, she called and told them they had to give up the day because it was her birthday. They refused. She then went on a long rant, accusing them of acting entitled to time with us and claiming they didn't realize she was the most important woman in our lives. She even said she was equally, if not more, important than our mom ever was because we were so young when Mom died. She told my grandparents they were nothing and that sooner or later they'd realize she would always come before them in our lives. Her words enraged me. She had no idea I was there or that I heard everything she said to my grandparents. When I got home, I started yelling at her, telling her I heard it all and how awful it was for her to speak to my grandparents like that. I told her she was never important to me and would never come before them. I said she's not my mom. I never saw her as family, and if she and my dad ever divorced, I wouldn't stay in touch with her because she was never actually important, just someone who was there. When my brother got home from a friend's house, I told him what she said and he was furious too. When my dad got home and found out what happened, he told me to apologize. I refused. This led to therapy a couple of weeks ago because my dad and stepmother wanted me to apologize, and for my brother and me to stop being distant with her. They said it wasn't fair. In therapy, my brother told them she wasn't his mom either, and said she wished Dad had never married her. He even said he hoped they'd get divorced because he didn't want to live with her anymore. My dad and stepmother are furious, especially because I told my brother about what she said. Dad accused me of ruining the relationship, saying I treated her badly, when all she was doing was explaining how she'd raised us and been part of our lives longer than our mom. He said I went nuclear on her and should have been more understanding. Am I the a-hole? I'm sorry. My heart goes out to you. Losing a parent is devastating, and having a stepmother treat you like this only makes it harder. You don't have to like her, but maybe try to find peace for your own sake. Not the a-hole. I have college plans in the works, but I might stay with my grandparents for the summer to get more space from my dad and stepmother. Not the a-hole. The fact that she asked you if they spoke badly of her is a huge clue as to how her mind works. She assumed they would trash talk her, because that's what she does and would do. Maybe mention in therapy that gossiping and putting others down because of insecurity is bad behavior, and that you have the right not to be dragged into petty, vicious gossip. You might have been able to develop a relationship with her if she had approached you with positivity and treated you as an individual person, rather than trying to make you into a spy in her childish crusade against your grandparents, whom you love and for whom you will fight since you want and need them in your life. Stepmom is a mean girl, and that's not pretty. Your dad forgot which day was your stepmother's birthday. Before she got on her high horse and lectured your grandparents, she should have reflected on that. I am so sorry your stepmother was extremely disrespectful to your grandparents. She has no compassion. How could she have said all that to someone who had lost their daughter? It's beyond me. Your dad is equally culpable in not standing up for both of you and watering down what she said to make it sound less hurtful. Not the a-hole. Ask your grandparents if you can move in with them when you turn 18. You've probably read enough Reddit posts to know what you need to do to get ready to move. Be there for your younger brother, because they will likely put more pressure on him once you move out. Yep, but she was looking for something to blame them for. I can tell from all the times she was a part of questioning what happened when we were with our grandparents. She was waiting for something she could use as an excuse to yell at them for. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing when my sister asked me to cut my hair short for her wedding? I'm a 23-year-old woman, and I have a long curly hair that reaches past my waist. I often get compliments because I take good care of my hair. It attracts attention wherever I go. My older sister, who by the way criticizes everything I do and makes subtle jabs and snide comments to put me down every time we've gathered together, has always said I keep my hair that way because I enjoy the attention. That's not true, but I try not to engage in petty arguments with her. I have a strained relationship with her, and we've had arguments because she thinks I always steal the attention away from her, even though I have always tried to accommodate her sensitivities. Now that it's her wedding, I had to change the dress I was planning on wearing for a second time because she thought it would steal the attention from the bride. Even though it was a blue dress, not a color close to white, I chose a simpler dress. Now she's demanding I cut my hair short because she thinks everyone will focus on me and my hair on her wedding day. I told her she's being unreasonable and that I'm not going to cut my hair short just because of her insecurities on her wedding day. She's now saying I'm not invited to her wedding unless I cut my hair to shoulder length. I told her I'm sorry to miss her wedding then. Am I in the wrong for refusing her request? Not the a-hole. What's funny is, your sister doesn't realize how much more attention such a drastic change to your hair would get from family than just leaving it as it has been for years. I'd suggest you be careful around her so she doesn't try cutting a chunk out of your hair herself. It is never reasonable for a bride or groom to request cutting or dyeing hair. Anyone who tells you to do as she wants simply doesn't want to deal with her drama. This is a good suggestion. She sounds insecure enough to have a go at her hair with scissors. Not the a-hole. She's no right to dictate your hair length. I wonder what more is going on here though. Like, are you extremely beautiful and she is ugly, or have your parents always favored you? This kind of obsession invariably has a cost. It's complicated, as are family dynamics. I think she's beautiful in her own right. I suspect she's resentful of me because I've had early financial success in my career as a visual artist, and my parents and family tend to talk about it a lot during gatherings. She feels overlooked, even though we always celebrate her accomplishments too. She thrives on external validation and always wants to be the center of attention. The hair thing is just another one of her complaints about me. Throughout the years, she's tried to tell me my hair doesn't look good long to get me to cut it short. I haven't been to a single wedding where all people could talk about was someone's hair that they've always had. Unless it's something completely out of character or obnoxious, no one is going to pay attention to your hair. They'll say, "I love your hair," and move on. But it's like these brides can't handle the idea of all the attention not being on them for even a millisecond. Not the a-hole. Exactly. I told her no one is going to pay attention to my hair when she's the one in the beautiful wedding gown. People are used to the way my hair looks. And she told me, but still, there will be relatives who will say your hair is beautiful. I don't want that at my wedding. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my son that family is more important than school? My son Damien, 14 male, takes school seriously. He wants to be the top of the class and have the highest grades, but can't. I often have to pull him out because he has to help out the family with various things. My husband and I are both disabled, and my papa, 88 male, who is on end-of-life care, lives with us. We usually ask him to help care for the house since my husband and I can't do it ourselves, to help care for his granddad, and to help his little siblings, 8 and 4 male, when we can't. Before anyone says it, no,
We cannot afford to hire someone to help us, so we can only rely on each other.
He's failing a few classes, and the school says he will either have to take them next year or do summer school to make them up. He's been crying about this and started lashing out when we make him stay home to help. Today was especially bad, and we ended up arguing. I told him that family is more important than school, and that his grades won't mean anything once he graduates and gets a job anyway. He says he wants to go to college, but I reminded him that we can't afford it. So how is he going to go without money? He's upset and neglecting his brothers, which is causing extra stress on my husband and me since we have to wrangle them and help my father. He is currently grounded, but I'm wondering if I'm being too harsh. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. You're the a-hole. You are abusing and neglecting your son. You cannot pull him out of school for stuff like this. It's not legal, and it's also not his responsibility as a child to care for adults or your other children. This is so sad. Please stop doing this to him. This situation is unfortunate, but it's not Damien's fault or responsibility, and you are abusing your authority as his parent to benefit yourself at his expense. You keep saying family is more important. Is Damien not family? Or does that sentiment not apply to him when you need something from him? What about when he can't pass to the next grade or get into the college he wants because you decided your needs and wants were more important? You are doing your son a great disservice and owe him changed behavior and an apology. You're the a-hole. Your son is not a babysitter, not an extra set of hands, not a parent. You can apply for assistance through whatever insurance your father has. Your insurance should also provide some home help aid for you and your husband if you are so disabled that you cannot care for your children. Also, if you cannot care for your children, why the heck did you take on your father too? I don't need you to reply, but there has to be other family that can help. I sincerely hope your son's school reports truancy since you keep pulling him from school. You are selfish. Selfish to take on another adult you can't care for. Selfish to ask your son to parent your children. Selfish to put so much responsibility on a young person's shoulders. Selfish to destroy his future for the sake of your present. Do not be surprised when he goes low to no contact because when you need more help when you're older, it won't be the son who helps you. To your son, my family had no money for me to go to college. I supported myself, got my master's degree, and lived very happily. It's a struggle. But I did it, and so can you.